Okay, so here we go. This is a review for our quiz, which is tomorrow. It's over sections R.1, R.2, and 1.1. So we're going to talk about lines in a plane. We're going to talk about symmetry. We're going to talk about intercepts. We're going to talk about distance and midpoint. We're going to talk about, hey, is this a right triangle or not? So if I look at these first two examples, find the center and the radius of a circle. Remember, guys, the equation of our circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals radius what? Good. So our center is at h and k. It's always going to be opposite of what it looks like in the formula because of the minus signs. And then whatever is equal to, you have to take the what? Square root. Okay, I had a lot of people come up to me like on this one and say, how am I supposed to graph 256? Well, I don't want you to. I'm not going to give you a number that massively huge and then say, hey, figure it out. So when you come up to questions like that, think about that. So if I look at this one, what is the center for this circle? Negative 1, positive 4. Anybody have questions on how we got that? Okay, and then to find the radius, what's the square root of 1? 1. Okay, then I had some people say, how in the world do I graph this? Well, go negative 1, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And remind me again what radius is. The distance from where to where? Middle to a point on the circle, right? So if it's 1, I'm going to go up 1, over 1, down 1, left 1. And then I connect my dots. There's my circle. That's it. That's all you're doing. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Let's look at 2. Or it's not 2, but whatever. The second one. The center. Where is my center? What's being added or subtracted from x squared? Nothing. So it's 0, comma what? Positive 4. Good. And then my radius is 2. How come it's not plus or minus? Because it's a measurement. It's distance. Good. So I have my center at 0, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And my radius is 2. That means I'm going to go to the right 2, down 2, left 2, up 2. And I have my circle. No, it doesn't matter. That's fine. It's just easier for me to count, like, you know, on the axes. Okay, what's the center here? 3, 2. Good. And what's your radius? 4. Perfect. So I'm going to go right 3, 1, 2, 3, up 2. And then my radius is 4, so I'm going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. God bless you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. This is a big circle. Something like that. Last one. What's my center? Negative 2, comma, 0. Good. And then what's my radius? Good. So we go negative 2, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Francisco, did you go the wrong way? I'm so glad you said that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of mistakes that you guys are going to make on this quiz, when I give it back to you, the first thing you guys are going to say is, oh, I'm so stupid. Pay attention to what you're doing. These are easy questions, but easy places to make mistakes. Okay, so we okay with graphing circles? Okay. Slide. All right, I promise you will have on every version of every quiz, you'll have one that's nice and pretty, works out, you can find the slope and all this stuff, and then you're going to have one that's either going to be a vertical line or a horizontal line. If it's a vertical line, think about that. Can I walk up a vertical line? No. So that my slope is undefined. Good. If it's horizontal, it's what? It's 0. So remember that. And then if it's a x equals versus a y equals, and we'll look at that. So if I look at this first one, find the slope and the y-intercept of the equation and graph. This is in what kind of form? Almost. It's almost in standard. What do we need to get it into? Y equals mx plus b. So let's do that. Let's isolate y. First thing you want me to do? Okay, you can subtract 2x. What else can we subtract? Okay, we've got to do that from both sides. See if y equals negative 2x minus 10. So here you can identify your slope is
-2.
-2/1. Good. And your y-intercept is -10. Now, guys, this graph, obviously, I just carelessly put these numbers in. So on your quiz, you should be fine. But is there 10 spaces to go down on the y-axis? No. So I could change my scale a little bit. Can I go by 2s? Okay. So if I go by 2s and I'm here at -10, correct? What I'm looking for here is that you guys can place the y-intercept in the correct spot and that you do the correct slope and that the line goes in the correct direction. If I have a negative slope, give yourself a little picture. Which way should it be going? Downward. So my slope is up 2/1, up 2/1. It's going to go something like this. Now again, our scale is a little off because we had to go by 2s going on the y-axis, but you should be in this general direction. Yes, ma'am. You can say, whoa, that doesn't make sense. Look at this one. Am I in y equals mx plus b?
No.
Let's get there. So what do I do?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. So I have y equals, what's another way I can write x/3?
1/3.
1/3. Remember, there's a 1 in front of that x. So 1/3. I'm going to do that so I can see my slope. And then what's 9 divided by 3? -3. So my slope is 1/3. And my y, I don't know what's wrong with my stylus, I think. My y-intercept is at -3. So at -3, I'm going to put a point. 1, 2, 3. And then which way is my line going to slope?
Upward.
Upwards, because it's positive. So from that point, I can go up 1 and over 3. That's 4. If I was going to go in the opposite direction, I would go down 1 and to the left 3. And then my line looks something like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? All right. All right. Now, some of you came up to me like, there's no y. That's okay. That's okay. Solve this equation like you would any other equation. You want to get the variable by itself, which means what?
Add 3.
Okay, we're going to add 3 to both sides. Agreed. So you have 12x equals 3. Then what? Divided by 12. Good. Please don't tell me that 3 divided by 12 is 4. What is it? 1/4. Francisco, did you do that? Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're making those little mistakes. That's just careless. It's okay. I see it all the time. That's why I put this on here to remind you. This says x equals 1/4. What kind of a line is x equals? Vertical. If you don't remember that, plot that point. 1/4 is going to be in between 0 and 1, correct? I want to draw a line that goes through that point. So it would have to go which direction? Up and down. Well, what does that tell you about the slope, guys?
Undefined.
Good. It is undefined. And again, if you made a little mistake like that, I understand it's a common mistake, but you got to be careful. What's the y-intercept here?
0.
No. What is it?
The y-intercept.
Where does it cross the y-axis?
Nowhere.
It doesn't. So your answer is none. Don't tell me 0.
That's right.
If you tell me 0, I'm going to look and say, it doesn't cross at y equals 0. So be careful. I got to get a new stylus. I have one in my bag. Okay. This one, same thing. Does it have an x?
No.
That's okay. We can still just solve it. It's a normal equation. What do?
You subtract 8.
I'm going to subtract 8. So I have 4y equals -8. And then what? Divide by 4. So y equals what? -2.
Oh, wait.
Francisco, you are just helping me so much right now.
I can't believe I made it.
That you're just not thinking. It's no big deal.
I got excited.
I know, because you got it. You understood. You're like, I got it.
I was like, oh, this one's...
It's okay. It's okay. Where am I going to put a point on the y-axis? At -2. So think about it, guys. If I'm going to draw a line through this point, what direction is it going to go? Horizontal left to right. So what's my y-intercept? Is that -2? Good. And what's my slope? Your slope is 0. It doesn't go up any, doesn't go down any. It's just like a plain floor. You're just walking across it. How do we feel about that? I can guarantee you there's going to be one of those on every single version of the quiz. Make sure you're paying attention. All right, scooting down here. Parallel, perpendicular, and neither. Let's give ourselves a little bit of a reminder. How do we know if something is parallel? Exact same slope. I like that you said that. How do I know if something is perpendicular? Negative or opposite reciprocal. Good. When I say opposite, I mean one's negative, one's positive. Reciprocal. When I say reciprocal, what's another word that you guys use for reciprocal? Flip. That's fine. So if we're given two lines, that's great. I need to get my lines in y equals mx plus b first. Don't just look at this and go, oh, +3, -3. No. Don't just make little mistakes like that, guys. Follow your directions. Follow your steps that you do every time. Get each line into y equals mx plus b. So this first one, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, right? You guys agree? So this line becomes y equals -3x plus 1. Show me your work. Show me, show me, show me. Make sure I see all of your thought process. So what happens here? The bottom one.
Oh, you add.
Okay, I'm going to add 3x to both sides. So I have y equals +3x minus 3. Now the only thing that matters is what? No, not the y-intercept. What's the only thing that matters? Our slope. That's okay. Don't apologize. In order for something to be parallel, those numbers have to be the exact same. Are they? No. In order for something to be perpendicular, they have to be opposite reciprocals of each other. Are they? No. So my answer here is neither. Neither, however you want to say it. If they were parallel lines, their slope would be exactly the same. So they would both be +3 or they'd both be -3. If they were perpendicular, one would be positive, one would be negative. So one would be 3, one would be 1/3. Yes. Hannah, hold on a sec. Hannah.
Oh, so you only focus on the slope?
Only thing that matters. Yep, the only thing that matters. All right, let's scoot over here. Okay, they didn't give me two lines. What did they give me? They gave me points. Is there a formula that we know that we can figure out the slope given 2 points? What is that? y2 minus y1. Good, our slope formula. So I'm going to say line 1, and I'm going to write the point. I like to write them on top of each other. It just helps me not make silly mistakes. Again, you do what you want. So I have y2 minus y1. Again, it doesn't matter if I do 6 first or 3 first, but whatever I start with in my y, I have to start with the corresponding x. So I'm going to say 6 minus 3. So since I started with 6 in the y, I'm going to start with 3 on the bottom. Make sure you pay attention to signs, guys. 6 minus 3 is what? 3. And 3 minus -2 is 5. So the slope for line 1 is 3/5. Now, let's do line 2. Line 2, I have 1, -1 and 4, -6. So I'm going to say -6. Whoa. No idea. -6 minus -1 over 4 minus 1. Agreed? Okay, so 2 negatives make a. So I have -5 over what? 3. So over here, I'm going to write, I have -5/3. Those are my two slopes. Those are the only numbers that matter right now. Line 1 and line 2. Are those two numbers exactly the same? No. Are they opposite signs? Yes. Are they reciprocals of each other? Yes. So what did you just show me? Perpendicular. If you want to just write the sign for perpendicular, you're more than welcome to. If you write the word perpendicular, it should not look like you spelled parallel and tell me you're not good at spelling. Okay? If you put a K in it because you spell it wrong, okay, fine. But I need to know that you understand the difference between parallel and perpendicular. 2 lines. In order to figure out if these are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, I need to get it in what kind of form? Y equals mx plus b. Are we in y equals mx plus b? No. Because we see a fraction, should we immediately just freak out and be like, forget it, I can't do it, it's perpendicular? No. You guys can handle this. You want to isolate y. You want y all by itself. So what can I do? Okay, you can add 21 over 2. Perfect. So I'm left with 3 over 2y equals x plus 21 over 2. Correct? Okay. I need y by itself. Okay, we're going to divide by 3 over 2, right? So we're really multiplying by 2 over 3. Now I'm going to show you a little shortcut here. So I have y equals. When I distribute this, do you guys agree with me that the 2/3 goes here? So this becomes 2/3 x, right? Plus, does the y-intercept really matter? No. So don't get hung up on, oh gosh, I can't multiply fractions. You guys can. Everybody's okay. But don't get hung up on that. If I will multiply 21 seconds over 2/3, what can I do with the 2's? They cross out. And then what's 21 divided by 3? 7. So everyone can handle that. But in reality, the only thing that matters to tell if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither is the slope. So let's do the second line. Line 2. X plus 2/3 y equals negative 2/3. So we want to isolate our y, correct? So what do you want to do? Subtract x. Okay, fine. So you have 2/3 y equals negative x minus 2/3. Okay, we need y by itself. Multiply by the reciprocal, go 3 over 2. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. So y equals, distribute this. Negative 3 over 2x minus 1. Again, though, if it was some gnarly looking number, do you really need to just freak out and be like, oh my gosh, no, because what's the only thing that matters? Your slope. So my slope in my first problem happened to be 2/3. My slope in the second line happened to be negative 3 over 2. Are those the same number? No. Are they opposite reciprocals of each other? So what did you just prove to me? There you go. Questions? Everybody's okay? All right. What do I do here? I need the slope. Do I have a formula that we know how to find slope? Sure do. So for line 1, I'm going to say 10, 8, and 2, 5. Be careful when you do this, guys. Don't make silly mistakes. Take your time. I'm going to say 5 minus 8, and then 2 minus 10. Since I started with 5 in the y's, I'm going to start with the corresponding x in the 2's. So what is 5 minus 8? Negative 3. What is 2 minus 10? Negative 8, which gives me positive 3/8. Okay, make sure that you simplify all that good stuff. So positive 3/8. Now if we do line 2, I have 20, 16, big numbers, no worries, and 4, 10. So let's say 16 minus 10, and then 20 minus 4. You guys agree? Okay, so I have 8 over what? Just kidding. Oh, why did I put 8? 16 minus 10 is 6, right? Over what? 16. Does that simplify?
Yes.
Okay, 2 goes into both of these, yes? 6 divided by 2 is 3. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I have the slope here of 3/8. Compare those two numbers. They are what? They're exactly the same, so that means these lines are parallel. Yes, ma'am?
If you did the same work where you kind of like flip the numbers around, you got like 8/3 both times. It's the same.
No, because I would take points off because the formula is y over x. You put x over y.
I meant
Yeah. If you did the order backwards, you would get, and you got negative. That's fine, but you have to have your y's on top and your x on the bottom. All right. Whoops. Whoa. Then we're gonna look here. Did I erase? Okay, I didn't need to. You will have a distance and midpoint question. I'm not giving you guys the formula, so you need to know the distance formula and the midpoint. We're also going to talk about intercepts and stuff like that. You also will have one of those. Check on your R1, R2 homework. I put the answers up and stuff where you have to prove if it's a right triangle or not. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. But if we're going to do the distance formula, again, I like to write the points on top of each other so I don't make mistakes. But I set up my distance formula. I have my x's, and I subtract them. And I have my y's, and I subtract them, and then I add that together. So I'm going to say 3 minus 5, agreed? 7 and 10. And then we just simplify. What is 3 minus 5? So I have negative 2 squared plus, what's 7 minus 10? Negative 3 squared. So I have 4 plus 9, agreed?
Yes.
Square root 13. Can I break that down? No, so just leave it. If you can break it down, do you have to?
Yes.
Yes. How do we find the midpoint? Add what? Add the x's, divide by, so 3 plus 5, divide by 2. And then what do I do with the y's?
You add them.
Add them, divide by 2. Remember, if you're finding the middle, you add, divide by 2. So 3 plus 5 is 8, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. 7 plus 10, 17. So I have 17 over 2. Do you have to simplify that? No. If you want to, fine. But if I were you, I'd just leave it so you don't make a mistake and say that's like 8.5, because it's not. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. 9.5. I'm thinking in my head of a mistake. Just if you're not thinking, like, just don't try to simplify and make a simple mistake. I definitely would. All right, let's do another distance. I have 6 and 2. So 6 minus negative 7. Okay, I'm going to write 6 minus negative 7. You don't have to. You can just, like Francisco said, put, well, 6 plus 7. That's fine. I just like to make sure I have my signs right. And I'm going to say 2 and 8. So I end up here with 13 squared plus what? Negative 6 squared. Guys, if you don't know what 13 squared is, then you have to go old school over here on the side. 13 times 13. It happens to be 169. Plus, what's negative 6 squared? 36. So, 169 plus 36 is what? 205. So I have the square root of 205. Now, you're sitting here thinking, oh, geez, does that break down? I don't know. Do we have a way to check? Yes. Let's do our little upside down. What do I know? What number do I know for sure goes into 205? 5. So 5 goes into 20. How many times?
4.
4. And then 5 goes into 5 how many times?
1.
Is anything going to go into 41?
No.
So then, boop, you're done. Good. Oh, my bad. Okay, this is 205. That still looks like an S. No better.
Yeah.
All right, now to find midpoint. We're going to use our same points right here. To find my midpoint, I have 6 plus negative 7. Yes, you can write 6 minus, but, and then 2 plus 8, right? Well, what's 6 minus negative 7? 6 plus negative 7. So I have negative 1/2, comma what?
5.
There you go. I'm going to give you guys the whole class period to do this tomorrow, so it's not going to be rushed. A little bit of everything on it.
How many questions are on it?
I don't know. I'll look. I'll look when we're done here. All right, let's look here. Whoa.
Whoa.
Symmetry, intercepts, that sort of thing. Guys, you're going to have to graph one of these. And I kept graphing till the end because this is easy to do. I'm not trying to give you guys anything crazy hard. In order to graph, you just have to make sure you know where the intercepts are, and then you can connect your points. But if I'm going to find X and Y intercepts using these problems, how do I find intercepts? Plug in what?
0.
Plug in 0. So I'm going to first find, I'm going to plug in 0 for X. That gives me which intercept?
Y.
The Y. So look, guys, really quickly, 0 squared plus Y minus 16 equals 0. What is 0 squared? 0. What do I do with the 16? Add it. So where is my intercept here? At Y equals 16. So I'm going to have a point at 0, comma 16. All right, now I'm going to find my X-intercept. So that means I'm going to say Y is 0. So when I do this, I have X squared plus 0 minus 16 equals 0. Well, what does this really say?
X squared equals 16.
X squared equals 16. How do I get X by itself?
Square root.
Square root. When I find the square root, when I physically put the square root on, what goes in front of my answer? Plus or minus. You can leave your answer as plus or minus 4, or if I were you, I would write 4, comma 0, negative 4, comma 0, because when you graph it, you have to have both. So just a quick sketch here. Positive 16, right? I have a point. Agreed? And then I have one at negative 4, and I have one at positive 4. Agreed? What kind of shape? Look, if I connected those dots, you don't connect them point to point. Nice smooth curve. What's this going to make? Parabola? Do we know that at the beginning because we start off with X squared? Yes. Now, before you test for symmetry, I'm not going to make you guys test for the x-axis, the y-axis, and the origin. What does this look, if I drew this to the best of my ability, what does this look like it might have symmetry to? What could I fold it over? Which axis?
The Y.
The y. So let's check to see if there's symmetry to y. All right, so my original equation is x squared plus y minus 16 equals 0, correct? Now, in order to find symmetry to an axis, you have to plug in either an opposite number or we can use letters. If I want to find symmetry to the y, that means I have to plug in something negative for the x. So if I plug in negative x here, it's always the opposite. What is negative x squared?
X.
Positive x squared plus y minus 16 equals 0. So here was my original. And here's what happened when I plugged it in to see if there was any symmetry. Are they exactly the same?
Yes.
So then, yes, you guys proved that it was symmetric to the y-axis. When I ask you to prove symmetry, you can't just graph it and go, it looks like it. Algebraically, you have to prove it to me. So whatever letter you're looking for symmetry, whatever axis you're looking for symmetry to, just plug in a negative to the opposite. Like since we were looking for y, we plugged in negative to x.
Can't you just see that in the square and say yes?
Yes, Francisco, I just said that, but I need algebraically to prove it. You are welcome to just look at it and tell me yes, and then I will welcomely take 5 points off because algebraically I need to see it. Proof. Just like when I give you, for the one that's prove if it's a right triangle or not, I'm not even giving you a coordinate plane. You can make your own and you can plot the points. I don't care, but I want to see the distance from one point to another, from one point to another, from one point to another, and I want to see the Pythagorean theorem. All right, one more, and then we're finito. How do I find intercepts?
0.
Plug in 0. So I'm going to plug in 0 for x to find the what?
1.
Okay, so I have 0 plus y cubed minus 8 equals 0. So this really is y cubed equals what?
3. Or 8.
8. How do you find the cube root? What does that mean? What does cube root mean? It is 2. What does that mean, though? 2 to the third power. 2 times itself 3 times. So it is 2. Good. So now I'm going to find the other one. I'm going to find the x-intercept because I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So it's x minus 0 cubed, or plus, doesn't matter, minus 8 equals 0. So I have x equals what? 8. So now if I'm going to graph it, I have an intercept at 0, 2, and I have one at 8, 0. Now you guys are like, wait, what? Go back to algebra 2. What does this look like? What's my cubes look like? Nobody? X squared's a parabola, right? Nobody remembers what my x cubed looks like? Like a little S kind of thing. Perfect. So it looks like a kind of little S kind of thing. That's fine. You can do it like that. It's a cubic. I say it's a little snake. Does this have symmetry to any of the axes? No. I would like you to show me algebraically at least one of them. You don't have to do all 3. How do I know for sure that it's not symmetric to the origin? How do we know something is symmetric? When I look at it graphically, how do I know if it's symmetric to the origin? You could fold it over both of them. But how do I know if it's symmetric to the origin? If it does what?
If it passes through the origin.
If it passes through the origin. That's an easy one to see. And then folding over the x, folding over the y. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Yes, ma'am?
How do you know if, like, for the previous question, how did you know that it was going to, like, lean towards 1?
Because if you just think about it, I mean, if I cut that right in half, I mean, obviously, let's pretend that I drew it right. But if I cut that in half, remember in kindergarten, if you were going to make a heart on Valentine's Day, you'd fold a piece of paper over and make half of it and then open it up? Same thing. If I took the top and I folded it down over the x-axis, if I took where it was 16 and folded it down, would it map on top of itself? Right? It doesn't, it wouldn't. But if I took the left-hand side and over the right-hand side, another way to look at it too, guys, what are my intercepts on the x-axis? 4 and negative 4. How far is 4 away from 0? 4 spaces. How far is negative 4 away from 0? 4 spaces. So it's the same on either side. So you could see that as well that way. But that's it. That's what's going to be on the quiz tomorrow. It's our first quiz, I know. I'll give you guys the whole class period. I will probably have it graded by tomorrow night. I like to try and be fast with stuff like that. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be here in the morning. Just please don't come at like 7:52 and be like, I just have 3 quick questions. Can you show me how to do this? No. So look, I have the answers for your R1, R2 homework. It's posted. I went through all of 1.1 today, so that's all done. So look back at the videos and email me tonight if you have questions, and come see me in the morning. Sound good?